Sweet, sweet little video is protected by fair use. It is for free. It is not for profit. It is for the purposes of criticism and commentary. Thanks for watching. Smash that like button. Hammer that like button. Takes half a second. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell button to get all notifications. This video is for mature audiences only, adults only, strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is John Davis, and I have the opportunity to share my near-death experience story. My experience happened in 1987 when I was 21. I was riding a moped or a scooter that we had. My dad had won a sales contest and we were given these different mopeds. So I was riding one day and I had an accident and I crashed into a tree and I tore the tendons off my right hand and I had to go in for surgery to have them reattached. Well, I had never had surgery before. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was like. So the day the surgery comes, I go in, I'm in the operating room, and they start to put me under with an IV. And I had an allergic reaction to the anesthesia, and it stopped my heart. And I was pronounced dead for 7 minutes. So everything I want to share with you happened in a 7-minute time period. But on the other side, there is no such thing as time. So to me, it felt like I was gone for an hour, but in reality, they showed me on this journey they took me, all happened in a relatively short period of time. So I closed my eyes when I died, and it seemed like the very next second, I was standing in the most beautiful building I had ever seen. And try to imagine it was this huge, long corridor building. And my very first thought was, I had no idea the hospital was this large because I didn't know I died. I didn't know anything what was happening. I just went with this whole scenario all the way till the end and didn't really know that I had died. So this building, it was made of marble. And if you can imagine, to the right, there were these beautiful white marble columns. It was rectangular, huge, as far as you could see, with these white marble columns, maybe 30 feet high, maybe 10 to 15 feet apart. On the left-hand side of the columns were these tables, beautiful white marble tables, and they had benches on all four sides of the table. And off to the left were these, the only way I can describe them is they looked like doorways, like tunnels, but they were black. And it looked like they had been perfectly chiseled and cut out of this white marble. So what it looked like was you had these columns, then you had the tables, and then you had these tunnels. They went all the way down, so every table had a corresponding tunnel. And something I want to mention is, and I didn't know this at the time, but all of us have spirit guides who are with us when we enter our lifetime. In fact, spirit guides help us plan our lives. Well, I had a spirit guide. He said, I'm your spirit guide. My name is Alan. And
Hey everyone, I'm going to jump in right here. He said quite a few things. I'm going to nickname him Moped Boy. Channel's actually, I don't think Darius named the channel, but it's called The Other Side NDE. The Other Side NDE. And they cover near-death experiences. They get huge amounts of views. Huge. 522,000 views. Over 500,000 views. They do absolutely no analysis. They just cover. They just let the person talk. No questions. They put stock footage, images, and stock video like this. This is stock. You buy a package and you edit the video together. That's what they're doing here. And they get huge views for questioning nothing. Okay, that's what they do. I believe this channel banned me a while ago, if I'm not mistaken. No, that should be no shocker to people. You speak too much truth on these channels, they're going to ban you. You mention another channel, you mention analysis or something, they don't like that. Anyway, I want to jump in here and say I've wondered about this since childhood and asked about it. Why would there be huge buildings in, quote, heaven? Marble, marble columns and huge, heavy structures. Isn't it it's supposed to be a spiritual realm, not a material realm? It's supposed to be an immaterial, heavenly realm. Okay? Interesting, isn't it, that these people go there and they never question, like, hey, why are these heavy marble buildings up in, quote, heaven? Doesn't make sense, of course. But they never seem to challenge it and question it. The vast majority of people that have a near-death experience never ask any questions. Oh, this guy comes up, or this creature comes up and says, I'm your spirit guide, I'm named whatever. And it's like, was it Alan or something? Something dumb? And they just take it for granted, like, oh, of course he is. I mean, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm your spirit guide. Well, he's a stranger. I'm making these videos to get people to see through it too, so that you don't go through the same thing and just follow along, you know. Oh, Alan, you're my spirit guide. You've been with me forever, my whole lifetime. I never met you before. If you're my great guide, why didn't you help me out? Why did I die during surgery? Why didn't you just stop that and intervene and say, hey, you're allergic to this, or don't give him that, or nothing was done. I mean, you're watching over me, but you really didn't help me. You know, get what I'm saying? I mean, none of it adds up. None of it. Spirit guide. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Isn't he a spirit? What does he need anyone else guiding him for? It does. None of it adds up when you really look at it and deconstruct it and say, you know what? This doesn't add up at all. Why are they wearing these robes? Where's the clothing store in heaven? That's what I want to know. Where's the clothing store? Do they get these robes tailored for them? You know, do you walk into a store like a men's suit store and they measure you and they tailor your suit for you? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, it just doesn't. What's on TV in heaven? Do they? I mean, I could go on and on and on, and let's move forward here, though. You know what? I think a lot in this realm love to be deceived. It's almost like an addiction, or it's weird. It really is weird. They love to be deceived, and they love to talk about it, and they just act like they can't even fathom that there'd be deception beyond here. When you're in a fucking realm full of deception, chock full of deception. Right now. You think that ends just because you left the meat suit body? That makes no sense either. Oh, man. I was questioning some of this stuff. I'm not lying to you. During First Communion in elementary school, Catholic school, First Communion. And there's adults that they don't question anything. I mean, anything. Like, I don't know what's with this type. Could you tell them, hey, can you want to go down this water slide? But first, you know, put these razor blades on, and you're going to be going down into a pool of iodine. And they'd be like, okay, well, sounds good. Like, they don't question anything. They just follow along. And I don't know what they are, but they don't have the ability to think critically. They don't have a critical mind.
Enter our lifetime. In fact, spirit guides help us plan our lives. Well, I had a spirit guide. He said, I'm your spirit guide. My name is Alan. And all the way through this whole journey that he was taking me on, he was telling me what I was seeing. So that's where I'm getting this information from. He told me everything I was seeing. He told me to go look in the tunnel, the first tunnel that was right to my immediate left. And I looked in, and it was like looking at space, and I could see stars and galaxies and planets. It was absolutely just beautiful. And he told me to look at the
This is fake, but this guy's done zero research, so he wouldn't know this is fake. He wouldn't have a clue. They could show him anything, and he'd believe it. Anything. Okay? They could show him a, quote, planet and say, this is Uranus. And he'd say, what do you mean? And they'd say, it's Uranus. It looks exactly like Uranus. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. But they could show him anything, anything.
Just beautiful. And he told me to look at the next tunnel. So I looked at the next tunnel, and the second I looked at it, there was a man who was an elderly gentleman who was coming through the tunnel. And he had his right hand covering his chest like he was in pain. And my guide told me that he died from a heart attack. And I want to give you the backstory of this a little bit, where I was. You know how we typically hear about a common near-death experience? Usually is when the person is in a hospital like I was, or there was some accident scene and they see themselves above their body. And then they become aware of a tunnel. And at the end of the tunnel is a white light. Well, we never really hear much about what happens after that white light because people don't come back from there. It's the only people that come back from a near-death experience who haven't gone into the light yet. Well, my experience, I didn't have any of that. My near-death experience began on the other side of that white light. Well, the building that I was in, my guide told me, is called the Orientation Center. And when a person walks into the light, they end up in the Orientation Center, and they are met by what are called orientation counselors. In every table that I saw,
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Orientation counselors. It just almost sounds like government health care or something. I mean, it's just, this is heaven? You think this is heaven, this guy? Do you really think that's heaven? Isn't that incredible? He's the epitome of believe what you're told. Just believe what you're told. Don't think too much. You'll hurt yourself.
by what are called orientation counselors. In every table that I saw, there were two people sitting at each table, again, all the way down, and they're called orientation counselors. And their job is to help orient people back to the other side or the afterlife or home, whatever you want to call it. That's where people end up when they cross into that light. So this gentleman was coming through. He was an elderly man and maybe 80s or 90s, and he had died from a heart attack. Well, the very minute that he stepped through the tunnel, one of these counselors stood up. It was a woman, and she walked over. She took his hands in hers, and she walked him back to the table, and they sat down. Well, the whole time I could see her talking to him, but I was too far away. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but she was holding his hands the whole time. And what they do, the reason that they are there is because when people come into a lifetime, you might live 80, 90, 100 years on Earth, and you forget where you're from. Most of us forget. We have amnesia when we come into a lifetime. And when we die, we forget where we're from. So what the orientation counselors do is they just simply tell people, you know, you're back on the other side, you've finished your lifetime, and now you're back home. Well, my guide,
I don't call it home. I call it the fake heaven. Uh, they hold your hand. Well, you're out of your body. The guy that had the old man that had the heart attack left his body and went to quote heaven. Why does he have a body and why does she have a body to be able to physically hold his hand? What's that about? What's the body then? If he's out of the meat suit, so is that just a hologram, projection, illusion? That's what it seems like to me. Okay, and I have to break in and analyze this stuff. If you just want to watch the full video without my commentary, go for it, but you're not going to learn very much. There's been people once in a while that come to my channel and say, why don't you just play the video? Well, I have to give my commentary for YouTube's rules, for one thing. For another thing, that's what my channel's about. Doing analysis. Not just playing this shit and getting brainwashed like the people that watch these NDE channels. That just gives them hope. You know, I'm not even surprised that this comes up. This person wrote, I struggle with depression daily. Listening to this gives me hope. fills me with a desire and a motivation to have a sense of purpose with my life while I'm here on earth. Thank you for sharing. A lot of people just looking for hope. They're not looking for truth. There's a huge difference between hope and truth. What they want is hopium. Okay? I understand this is a tough place. I understand people struggle with depression, with all sorts of things here. Pain, suffering. Want truth, you have to analyze things. You have to think critically. If you want truth, if you want just surface BS where they just see and believe and they're told and believe, then by all means gobble up thousands of videos on these channels. But they're not going to analyze anything and open your eyes to what's really going on. They're not going to point out stuff, this makes no sense. What are these huge marble buildings doing in a fucking spiritual realm? It makes no sense. What about the robes? What about everything? You're going to see more and more as this goes on. Seems more like a holodeck, an illusion, a deception, a deceptive place with deceptive beings, where they're right there when you get there because they want to get you right away and brainwash you so you don't have time to remember, time to step back, time to think, whatever. Similar to school, get them right away while they're young, program them while they're vulnerable. That's what they do in this realm. As above, so below. That's what they do up there, that's what they do down here. Would you believe a stranger on the street if they walked up to you and took you by the hand, started walking around and telling you things? Would you just say, well, this is an angel, it'd have to be? Well, why do you believe it when you're there then, these people? You get what I'm saying? They automatically have trust and believe that, well, they must be good. Well, why? You wouldn't do that here on earth unless you're a complete dupe. Let me put it simply. You're in a very bad place. This is for the newbies that are new to this channel. You're in a very bad place. And you don't immediately go to a very good place as soon as you leave your body. They make you want to believe that. And this whole realm tries to program you to believe that when you die, you go to heaven. Really? Well, I think this is a big recycling center scam. That's what I think it is.
Said, watch him. So I started watching him, and all of a sudden, he began to change. He turned into a man in his 30s. And the reason is, there is no age on the other side. The perfect age for people is around 30. So all of us are in their 30s. So after that part happened, he stood up and he walked off to his right and he walked between the columns and he walked down 3 stairs. And on the right-hand side are these gardens, beautiful, kind of like an English garden. Everything was manicured and beautiful flowers and trees.
Okay, so who does all the gardening in heaven? Who manicures? I mean, you have to have jobs in heaven? Does that sound like heaven to you? Work never ends, does it? The work never ends. Do they have restrooms in heaven? Do you have to use the bathroom? Do you have to shower? Do you have to trim the trees? Do you have to mow the lawn? Do you have to clean your house? Do you have to go to a grocery store and buy groceries? Like, what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? Man, doesn't sound like heaven to me.
And the grass, it was the greenest grass I've ever seen. Absolutely beautiful gardens. And what happens is this is where people who come back from a lifetime have reunions. And these reunions are with people who have crossed before them. Parents, grandparents, friends, siblings, children, people that they have known in their life. And all the people they know on the other side are there to greet them. And the reason is because having a lifetime on earth and finishing a life is a really big deal. It's a huge accomplishment to everyone on the other side that you actually finished a life and now you're back home. And something I forgot to mention is during this whole process,
Huge accomplishment, but nothing you do here ends up really mattering in the end. It all turns to dust if you make paintings, books, sculptures, build things, even buildings eventually, they all deteriorate. Nothing lasts here. Nothing here is permanent. Nothing. Even memories. You know? Eventually it's just you have this old picture, let's say, of a great great grandfather or someone that you never met, and you're just like, you never met them. I've only seen some family members. I have these old black and white pictures that were old when my mom had them. I don't know who they are. Okay? Supposedly relatives of mine, but I never met them. I know nothing about them. So even the memories of people, it goes away eventually, or you're not even remembered. And then eventually, if you're buried in a graveyard, that just goes away too. If you look at the old gravestones, you can't make out the names anymore. They've been worn away by the elements, by the rain and snow and sun, and everything takes a toll, and it just gets worn off after hundreds of years. You can't see the names anymore. You don't even know who was there. So eventually, everyone gets forgotten here. I'm not trying to be dark or, gloomy or I can't think of the word that I wanted to say right there for a second, but not depressing, but dismal, or you know what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be that. Not trying to be depressing, dismal. But don't despair. This is a temporary place, though. No matter what you do here, what you make, it just all goes away. Everything here degrades. Everything. And everything, memories go away and it gets forgotten here. You get forgotten. Your parents, grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, and eventually, they'll just be maybe reduced to a name on an ancestry site or something. You really don't know anything about them. So there's no connection. So that's how this place works. They have sweatshirts and tracksuits and all this. Jumpers, I think they call them in the UK. Do they sell these in heaven, in the fake heaven this guy's talking about? I mean, is there a Nike store in the fake heaven? I mean, do you have to go to an optometrist and get glasses? I mean, it's incredible when you think about it. It really is. It's just like people just accept it. Well, it's just as physical as here. You have well, what's the body made out of there if it's not out of meat? Do you have to eat meat there? Do animals eat animals? I got many questions, okay? It just seems like another level of this matrix, a fake heaven. Fake. Just like this place is fake. It's just fake in a slightly different way. But it's all designed to fool you. To fool you.
On the other side that you actually finished a life and now you're back home. And something I forgot to mention is during this whole process, my guide showed me the outside of these buildings first, and then he took me to the inside. So everything that I take you, that I share with you, is the outside of the building first, and then he took me inside. So this building was called the Orientation Center. Have the orientation, have the reunion. The next place he took me to was what is called the life review. And every time we finish a lifetime, we have a life review. And he took me to a building that was rectangular, and it had, again, the white marble columns all around the perimeter. He took me in, and it looked like a theater, like a typical movie theater we have here on Earth, but it was round. The building inside was round, like a round room. And on the top were movie screens all around in a circle, all around me. So everywhere I looked, I could see these movie screens. And all of a sudden, the movie screens lit up and they were playing different episodes of my life that I could see. From one screen was me of a baby. Another screen was me as an infant. One was
Oh, isn't that amazing? Different episodes of his life, Moped Boy on all these different screens. Isn't that wonderful? That's just wonderful, isn't it? And he's explaining this as though, oh, it's not an invasion of my privacy whatsoever. They just have all this and it's all perfectly normal. He never jumps in and says, I felt violated, or, not lion sword style where the spider webs violated him. But you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, every personal moment, they have it all, and he just accepts this. Like, oh, that's fine. That's fine. You know? They're showing you that you lived in the Truman Show, and he's just nonchalant, casual about it. Like, oh, no problem. I was in the Truman Show that whole lifetime. Oh, no big deal. You spied on me as voyeurs through every moment of my life. Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't react that way, so I don't know what these people are. And I don't use the term NPC because, for one thing, it's so trendy, so common, so popular. For another thing, this creature might have a spirit, but it might be very different, like a different species of spirit than mine. But he is very different the way he reacts to things. No trouble, no bother at all. I was just in the Truman Show. They have everything recorded on my whole life. On all these screens, they're showing me, hey, why get upset? It's incredible. It's really incredible. Been spied on by perverted peeping toms your whole life, but oh, no bother. It's just wonderful, right? Think about it. Why don't you try thinking for once? This guy, and to anyone like that, they grab the sides of grab the sides of their skull and say, it hurts my brain to fucking think. I've seen zombies do that in real life. That it hurts their brain to really try to think about something. So I don't know what happened to them. I don't know.
of a baby. Another screen was me as an infant. One was an adolescent. One was in elementary school. And it showed my entire life all the way up to the age that I was then, which was 21. And my guide explained to me at that point that everyone has life reviews and they can see their lives just like they happened back.
Pointing his finger again. And I had just shown a video recently on Paul from What the Flock TV pointing his finger. They sure love to do that finger pointing, don't they? It's interesting. Here.
My entire life all the way up to the age that I was then, which was 21. And my guide explained to me at that point that everyone has life reviews and they can see their lives just like they happened back then at that age. And I'll mention that a little bit later, how that works. So that was called the life review. The next place he took me to, again, was the outside, and it looked like a beautiful white Greek marble building. Again.
So what's all this about? To appear heavenly? Did they try to plant that in people's minds that heaven, not Helen, heaven is full of these white columns? Okay? And he says his guide explained everyone goes through a life review. Does anybody ever say, fuck you, fuck this? I'm leaving. Bye. There has to be something magical about this. Okay? In this realm and here, as above, so below. I don't think it's just because it's recognizable. I think there's a magical element. And it was actually shown in a Star Trek original series video I haven't covered. I've covered others, but there's so much in that series, okay? It's not just one episode that has truth drops. And one time they went to a quote planet, a realm, that had these, and it had uh, Greek gods there. And anyway, Kirk and Spock figured out a way, I believe, if I remember correctly, how to defeat him. And it was some type of technology that they were using. But they said that humans had forgotten about them as gods and stuff like that. Like Mount Olympus type stuff. It was a Star Trek episode. And Gene Roddenberry was involved in the occult, okay? Definitely. And mystery schools and secret societies, and had ties to intelligence agencies and everything else. So it's interesting what they showed in the 1960s in a sci-fi TV show. You really think about it, but that's the way they do things.
And was rectangular with columns. And this building, again, was a round room inside, but instead of having all the screens in a circle at the top, it just had one screen in the front. And he started showing me past lifetimes. And the reason he showed me this is they wanted me to tell people that the whole idea of past lifetimes, it's real. And for me, I was raised Catholic. We went to church sometimes 2 or 3 times a week and also on Sundays. And as you know, the idea of past lifetimes isn't part of Christian or Catholicism, and it's not in the Bible. It was very foreign to me. And at the time, I had a really hard time believing it. But it's true. And you can go into this building and you can see past lifetimes. One lifetime.
He had a hard time believing it because nobody had told him what to believe on earth. This is the type that has to be told what to believe. If the priests had told him this is real, he would have believed it. He's here and believe. He's got to be told and believe. He doesn't think for himself. Throughout this whole thing, he's demonstrated that he has no ability to think for himself, and apparently no desire to do it either. He doesn't even attempt it. Just told, and it's disturbing that we're in a realm, and this is the majority. Some people say, well, you're just picking on him. No, he's the majority. He's 999 out of 1,000, easily. They're like this, in this realm. He has to be told by someone else or another entity, being, authority figure what to believe. He can't think for himself. His beliefs are all determined by someone else.
He showed me was of a monk. I was a monk, and I
Better rewind that a little bit. He talks about being a monk. Went by 33 minutes and 33 seconds. In some of the Gospels that didn't make it into the canon of the Bible, as they call it, the canon, that's fired at you as a weapon. I could think the Gospel of Thomas and some of those ones, they go into reincarnation in different lifetimes a little bit. So apparently Jesus did believe in that. If he was real at all, if he even existed, but
times, it's real. And for me, I was raised Catholic. We went to church sometimes 2 or 3 times a week and also on Sundays. And as you know, the idea of past lifetimes isn't part of Christian or Catholicism, and it's not in the Bible. It was very foreign to me. And at the time, I had a really hard time believing it. But it's true. And you can go into this building and you can see past lifetimes. One lifetime he showed me was of a monk. I was a monk and I lived in a monastery. I had a shaved head. I was wearing a red gown. And my job was to teach the kids about living in a monastery. The other life, and a second life he showed me, was I had a wheelbarrow, and the wheelbarrow was shoes. And I was a shoe peddler in that lifetime. And my job was to fix people's shoes. So that was that life. In the third life, he showed me of a fisherman. I had a wooden boat and I had a net. And my job was to throw the net in the lake and catch fish for the village. So he showed me.
Isn't this interesting? Showed him lifetimes. It's all about your jobs. Imagine that. Not who you are, but your job is to throw the net into the water and catch the fish. Right? That's all you are. That's all. You're just your job. You're just your job. Imagine that. Imagine that mindset. No matter what I've done for work, I've never thought it was just my job, ever. I never thought that my job defined me as a being, as a spirit, ever. Ever. No matter what I was doing. No matter what job I was working at. Okay? So this is definitely a look into his psychology and mindset and the afterlife and what they use. They realize people just define themselves by their jobs and by this bullshit. So we'll just show them, hey, you were a fisherman. This is what you did. Or someone else, they could say you fixed wagon wheels, or you fucking did whatever. You were a stonemason. You were a carpenter. You know, Jesus, they say Jesus was a carpenter. Well, all the fucking houses over there are made out of stone in those days. They weren't made out of wood, lumber. There was very little carpentry done. So no, Jesus was a stonemason. And the translation of the one word equals that. So anyway, they try to fool you in so many ways. So many ways. It's endless. The more ways they try to fool most people, the more most people trust them. It's incredible. It's like some kind of weird paradox, but the more they try to deceive you, the more the majority trust them. That's how it works here. It's just fucking, it's diabolically evil, but it is ingenious in a way as well. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't this way.
Me three different lifetimes. The next building he took me to looked like a
3 different lifetimes, and he was basically a robot. This is your job. You do this. This is your lifetime. You know, just toil away. Okay, that's what you are. You're defined by your fucking job, and it's incredible. Do people on my channel not realize you're more than whatever your job is here? Whether you're shoveling manure on a farm, working in a supermarket, working as an accountant, working as an attorney, as a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, a auto mechanic, working in a warehouse, working in a factory, working in construction, building homes, building apartment buildings, building whatever. Whatever you're doing, you know, landscaping, on and on and on. You should have the idea and sense to you, you know what? I'm a spiritual being. I'm more than this fucking job that I'm doing right now.
life he showed me of a fisherman. I had a wooden boat and I had a net. And my job was to throw the net in the lake and catch fish for the village. So he showed me three different lifetimes. The next building he took me to looked like a stadium that we have now to go see football games or soccer or rugby. Beautiful, huge stadium. And inside there were thousands of seats. And
Obviously, heaven needs stadiums, right? They'd have to. Where are they going to play? They need seats too, because you have physical bodies to sit your ass down on a seat. Do they buy tickets too? Where do you get the money to buy for the tickets in heaven? So am I saying this guy's lying? This is where people get confused that are new. I'm not saying he's lying. I think he remembers all this. And I think they deceived him. And they make it, they show you ridiculous shit, and people come back and say, well, I was in heaven. Okay? I call it the false heaven, fake heaven, the astral realm. Another level of illusions and deceptions. I'm laughing because this is ridiculous, in case people don't realize. Hey, why is he laughing at this stuff? This is fucking ridiculous. You're out of your meat suit body. What are you going to sit down on this with? Your spirit light body? I mean, think about it.
I was the only person there in this room. And what it looked like was a planetarium. It's a building where you can sit down and look up at the ceiling, and they can show you stars and galaxies. And there was a man who was.
Okay, sorry for breaking in again so quickly, but just like planetariums, this is an observatory, it looks like, with a telescope, but there's planetariums here where you look up at the ceiling and they put the fake space up there, but it moves around you. And that's the way it moves here. Earth is stationary. In case you didn't realize that, the ones that haven't looked into flat Earth. There's a lot of things that you could learn, and you should learn, because it might help you. But do I think it's absolutely crucial to getting out of here? No, I think you could do it without looking into it. I think so. Am I 100% sure on that? No, because it is kind of an important piece of the puzzle. Okay, it is a big step. So I do recommend people look into flat Earth. If you got this far to my channel, you kind of skipped over something then. I recommend you look into that. Spend some time on it. Don't spend your whole life on it. Don't get addicted to it like some do, flat earthers. And don't think, well, oh, flat Earth and it's in go back to the Bible and the biblical God, then you're way off track, okay? So it can be a trap, but it can also show you some things. That's with most things in this realm. It's like a two-edged sword, double-edged sword realm, this place. You know, a hammer can help you build things and drive in nails and stuff like that and tap things together. It's a useful tool, but it can also be used for violence by people. So there's multiple uses for things. And anyway, as above, so below, the planetarium's here and the planetarium's up there in heaven. What would you need a planetarium for? Couldn't you just use your spiritual eyes to see all these places and travel to them? If they were real, what the fuck would you need a planetarium for in heaven? Think about it. Think about it. I want people to really question this stuff. Everything. Question all of it. All along the way. And say to yourself, and in the end, maybe say to yourself, well, obviously they're deceiving us. Obviously. Because it doesn't add up what they're showing and doing. It doesn't add up.
Look up at the ceiling, and they can show you stars and galaxies. And there was a man who was behind me. I didn't turn around to see him or who he was, but I could hear his voice. And he said, "Let's begin." So I sat down and all the lights went off. And he said to me, "When you look at the stars, meaning people on Earth, all of us here on Earth, when we look at the stars, this is what you see." And all of a sudden, our solar system began to show up on the ceiling, and it showed, Earth, it showed Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, all of our planets. And then he
showed you Uranus? Sorry. This is fake. This is complete bullshit. This isn't how it works. The soul lure system doesn't work this way. So they showed him a bunch of garbage that he's been programmed to accept. So it shows they're lying and deceiving. And you'll see what I mean. Once you look into flat Earth, you'll say, yeah, I understand now. I understand now.
It showed Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, all of our planets. And then he said, when we look at the stars, meaning everybody who's on the other side, this is what we see. And all of a sudden, he started showing me dozens of different planets, all showing up on the ceiling, then hundreds, then thousands, and millions of planets. And he said, there is far more life in the universe than you possibly know. And what they wanted me to share with people was that Earth is not the only planet that you can have a lifetime on. There are virtually unlimited number of planets in the universe.
Well, I think they said that to him. So he's thinking, oh man, I want to live lifetimes on these other planets, quote planets, NASA terminology, and it's all fake. It's like going to another Earth hell realm matrix. That's all it is. Whether it's within this matrix, there's millions of quote planets to go to, or many other matrices. It's all fake though. They want to keep you in that mindset of keep coming back to these fake fucking quote planets, and you're really living in this simulation, and it's fucking hell and hurting you and causing most of us stress, especially the ones that see through it, stress, anxiety, everything else, man. Some of us are just sick of it. We're sick of the whole fucking thing. Suck for this. We're sick of the suffering. That's what I meant to say. Seeing the suffering, knowing where we are. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this. So that's what I think that programming is. Go back and tell them there's lots of places you can go to, and it's all within a matrix.
That we can have lives on. And all of those planets have different life forms, just like we have here on Earth. But there are millions of them. So that was probably one of my most favorite places he took me because I love astronomy. I love the fact that Earth is not the only place that we can go.
Loves fake astronomy. It's probably a NASA fanboy. You've got millions of these fucking Earth-like realms to go to and live on and be deceived and be spiritually degraded and get mind-fucked. Millions of lifetimes. So imagine how many years, Earth years, that would be. Millions of these fake-ass, quote, planets, so-called, quote, planets, for millions of lifetimes. They'll keep you here forever. Forever. And you'll never know what's real. You'll be stuck in this shit because you're a fanboy of shit. He's a big fan, you know. Shaking my head. He believes the mainstream view. Fake space. He buys it all. You could be stuck here forever, boy. Oped boy. Ones would be the hardest ones to snap out of it because they're so confident that they have it figured out based on what these entities that are strangers to them told them. It's incredible. It really is. I mean, they could be a demon that just looks like an angel and say, look, there's millions of places you can go. I mean, he doesn't even notice the suffering in this realm. He doesn't mention it. He doesn't have any questions for them like, hey, why is there so much suffering on Earth? Why is it designed to create suffering? What's with that place? Not even that.
Astronomy. I love the fact that Earth is not the only place that we can go. The next place he took me to, this was the largest building that I saw.
And with the big columns, the Greek columns. I just want to say that feels good about that this Earth is not the only place that you can, quote, go to, he said. I don't think it could be going anywhere. I think you could stay here forever and experience millions of fake-ass lifetimes and on different fake, quote, planets within this one little matrix. You're not really traveling anywhere. You're traveling maybe not even across your city in reality. If you get what I'm saying, in terms of real distance, you're not really traveling anywhere. They just give you the illusion that you've traveled, that you're born on a different, quote, planet. You're still within this tiny fucking matrix cube that people seem to love. They don't seem to want to get out of here. So, yeah, and with the columns, though, this is in so many NDEs. Very, very common.
Far. And it was a long rectangle building. And this one was different. It didn't have columns on the sides, it only had marble columns in the front. And this one had maybe 30 or 50 steps that you'd have to walk up to get to the
Maybe 33 steps. Maybe it had 33 steps. I couldn't resist. He said 30 or 50. Maybe it was 33.
rectangle building. And this one was different. It didn't have columns on the sides, it only had marble columns in the front. And this one had maybe 30 or 50 steps that you'd have to walk up to get to the top of the building where you can walk in. So we go in, and it turns out it's a library. It's a beautiful, huge library with gigantic bookcases just full of books as far as you could see. And on the left-hand side were rooms.
My books in heaven. My books in heaven. Need my books. Need my books in heaven. Well, what would you need? Where'd they get the paper from? Are they cutting down trees and turning it into paper in heaven? Does this make any sense to you? Hardcover books in heaven. What would you need books in heaven for? Think about it. Really think about it. Others talk about telepathy and having all the knowledge in the universe. What would you need these physical books for in heaven?
Full of books as far as you could see. And on the left-hand side were rooms. Just like we have libraries on Earth and we have study rooms, that's kind of what these rooms were like. They were about the size of an ordinary master bedroom. And there was a woman who was sitting on like a couch, and she had her back to me in one of these rooms. She had long jet black hair down to her waist, and she was wearing kind of like a purplish maroon kind of a gown. And she was watching what we would call today as a flat screen TV mounted on the wall. It was a video screen. It was maybe 50 inches, like we have now at Best Buy. And she was watching a battle that took place on Earth 200 years ago between the Native Americans, Plains tribes, and the U.S. cavalry. And she was watching this battle. And I remember thinking,
Isn't that awesome? They have TV in heaven where you're watching battles from history. Your spiritual eternity, you're worried about what's happened in the past on Earth. Well, that doesn't make any sense, does it? You know? Was she watching the battle of the Plains Indians versus the U.S. cavalry and saying, give them the poya, hit them with the poya? Is that what was happening? Or I'm sorry, but I mean, it's bloody ridiculous when you think about it. Studying Earth history by watching a TV in heaven. That's supposed to be heaven. It's supposed to be heaven? Oh my goodness. Too many crickets. Gee willikers, gee willikers. Oh, what a joke. What a joke.
took place on Earth 200 years ago between the Native Americans, Plains tribes, and the U.S. cavalry. And she was watching this battle.
Hit him with the
And I
Puya.
remember thinking, how can she be watching a battle that took place a couple hundred years ago when we didn't even have video recorders back then? And my guide told me everything is recorded. And I don't understand, even now, I don't understand how that's possible. So I just think of it as a God thing. Somehow.
God thing. You're living in the Truman Show, and it doesn't even bother you. Well, it's just a God thing. They record everything here on Earth. And it's okay because it's a God thing. God's doing it. What God are you speaking about? The most perverted voyeur ever? Is that what you're talking about? He's wondering about the technology. He doesn't care about the invasion of fucking privacy that we're spied on. That doesn't bother him. He's just like a geek saying, how do they do that? What's the technology? It's incredible, man. It really is. This guy's almost the perfect slave. It's almost the perfect slave.
Told me everything is recorded. And I don't understand, even now, I don't understand how that's possible. So I just think of it as a God thing. Somehow, God is able to record our lifetimes. So in these rooms, anything you want to learn about, whether it was World War II, anything that you want to learn about, you can go to these rooms and you can study and learn about what happened during that period of Earth's history. The next place he took me to was a castle. He took me to the castle and he told me to walk in. So I walked in and it was beautiful, ornate, just like you'd see castles today. And it had a red carpet that went all the way inside the whole castle.
Oh, awesome. There's the bloodline. The red line of blood, the red carpet. Roll out the red carpet. Castles in heaven. Isn't this wonderful? Libraries and castles and Greek columns and
And off to the left and off to the right on the castle walls, they had life-size paintings of people. And who these people were royalty, kings, queens, princesses, people that lived in that castle during that time period. So again, if you wanted to learn something about that particular area or era of Earth's history, you could go to this castle and you could look and see what the people looked like. Perfect pictures.
Did you learn what the royals are really into? Did you learn anything important and meaningful that might open your eyes a little bit to this realm and where you are here? Did you learn anything? If you look deeper into anything, you question anything. Incredible. It really is. When the fuck are you going to learn something that matters?
There are perfect paintings of what they looked like, as well as the kind of clothing they wore back then. And in front of each picture, there was a podium. And on the podium was a book, and it was opened up. And all of these books were writings about this person's lifetime. Anything you wanted to learn about that person's life, you could go to these books and you could read about that person's life.
Seems like old-fashioned tech for heaven, though, right? When he said there's a podium, I almost thought he was going to say, and then he got on the podium and very booming voice said, "Behold, you're the Puya, the Puya." Look at this, the podium. It's just incredible. Like to write on this wall, you are being deceived, you are being brainwashed, you're a fool. And they love it. They love it.
Picture, there was a podium, and on the podium was a book, and it was opened up, and all of these books were writings about this person's lifetime. Anything you wanted to learn about that person's life, you could go to these books and you could read about that person's lifetime, whether it was King George or Queen Elizabeth, whoever you
King
wanted.
James the First. I'm going to be covering him though. He didn't mention him, but I'm going to cover him a little bit and read from his book on demonology soon, which I have. Okay, I'm going to do some readings for you. Isn't this guy just awesome? He's awesome. I think he's awesome. You can read in heaven. He's been to heaven, everyone. He still doesn't understand the royal bloodlines and what they do in this realm. He has no clue about where he is. No clue.
Wanted to learn about that person's life, you could go to these books and you could read about that person's lifetime, whether it was King George or Queen Elizabeth, whoever you wanted to read about. You could come and study. Well, right about then, I looked off to my right in this castle, and you know how castles have those circular stairways that go to the next level? That's what this castle had. And there was a woman that was walking down, and she had strawberry blonde hair about shoulder length, and she was wearing kind of an orange reddish kind of a gown or a toga, or whatever you wanted to call it. Well, she walked up to me, and this was the first time that I saw someone that could see me. She actually walked up to me during this experience. And here's something that today I still kick myself for, because here I am on the other side. I could have asked this girl.
The other side, the other side. There he was on the other side, the other side, the other side, the other side, the other side. That's the way Darius says it. On the other side, the other side, the other side.
And here's something that today I still kick myself for, because here I am on the other side. I could have asked this girl anything, but she walked up to me and she said, "Is there anything I can help you find?" You know what I said to her? I said, I didn't know what to say. So I said,
If I was single, I would have been like the bedroom. I'm sorry. I probably would have flirted with her though, or something. But anyway, I'm bad. I'm naughty, naughty sometimes. El Diablo's a bad influence on me. Let's put it that way. It's kind of like a devil on my shoulder, whispering things into my ear, trying to get me to be a little bit naughtier on my channel.
you know what I said to her? I said, I didn't know what to say. So I said,
Incel.
"Oh, no, thanks. I'm just looking." I thought I could have asked her anything. Well, remember when I said that people have different jobs on the other side? People really do, but they don't have jobs like we have jobs here, where you have to have a job to pay your bills, your mortgage, your rent, utilities, all that. It's
No electricity bill in heaven? Is that what you're saying? There's no rent payments for people living in fucking slum apartments in heaven? Oh, wonderful. That makes it all okay then, right? All the spying they do, recording of us. Jobs in heaven. Do you look forward to that, everyone? Having a job in heaven?
they don't have jobs like we have jobs here where you have to have a job to pay your bills, your mortgage, your rent, utilities, all that. It's totally different there. And people do what they love to do. And this girl was I guess the closest thing I could call her would be like a scholar. She was a scholar of Earth's history during that particular time on Earth, medieval Europe. So anything you
He
wanted
was
to
probably a scholar of the Kama Sutra, you dummy, you incel, and you missed your chance to lose your V card. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but this dorky guy's kind of bothering me. Just is.
scholar of Earth's history during that particular time on Earth, medieval Europe. So anything you wanted to learn about, you could go ask her. And the thing that's really interesting about the other side is that somehow I think God must have hardwired all of us to want to continue to grow and to learn, because that's why we come into life in the first place, is because we want to learn and experience. And you can still learn on the other side, but you don't learn through experience. And one of the reasons we come to Earth is to have that actual experience. So on the other side, there's an emphasis on learning.
Heard that excuse. We come here to learn through experience. Heard it all. Heard every excuse under the sun. And it doesn't add up. Just doesn't add up. And one of the reasons why it doesn't add up, if you look at the most horrific things that people endure here, then you'll start to see it doesn't add up. That's when you'll really start to see it. And a lot of people avoid that their whole lifetime. You know what the thing is, your big reward for avoidance is of truth? A pass right back to here again. A ticket right back here. So if I were you, you better start really facing the harsh truth of this place. Looking beyond yourself, looking at the horrific suffering of others. Okay? Not just your own. Look beyond yourself. It's one of the biggest keys I could ever hand you or show you and say, hey, try this. Try this and see how much more you see and how much more you understand this place and what is going on. That is a huge key that opens up doorways. Look beyond yourself. See the suffering of others. And you'll understand this place much, much better. What's really going on.
That's why they have so many different libraries. And what's so wonderful about the other side is that you can pursue what but you don't learn through experience. And one of the reasons we come to Earth is to have that actual experience. So on the other side, there's an emphasis on learning. That's why they have so many different libraries. And what's so wonderful about the other side is that you can pursue what you love to do. So if you like to hike, if you like swimming, if you like writing, if you like music, anything you like to do here, you can still do there. That was something I found so incredibly fascinating, was that you can pursue anything you want to do. So it really is like heaven or a paradise. So the very last thing that happened was my guy, he took me to a field of just
It says it's really like heaven or paradise. Can you leave? Are you free to leave? Otherwise, it's a prison. Oh, I hope that hits some people. Oh, wait a second. He's making a real point there. If you're not free to leave, then yeah, it doesn't matter how it looks. If you're caged in, it's a prison. It's a prison. It's a prison. It's a Poya prison. It's a Poya prison. That's what it is. Poya. Poya.
you want to do. So it really is like heaven or a paradise. So the very last thing that happened was my guide, he took me to a field of just beautiful flowers and he left. The next thing that happened was a man showed up in front of me. And I know this sounds crazy, but it was Jesus. He showed up in front of me and I could see his hands. I could see he was wearing a white gown it was like a white robe with a gold sash around the middle. And he had kind of gold looking sandals that went up to his calves. And I couldn't see his face because there was so much light coming from his face that I couldn't see his features. And he talked to me and he said, "You must tell them there is no death." And the very second he said that, I was immediately back in my body in the operating room, and everyone was looking down at me, and they had to use the pedals on me 6 times to bring me back. And that was the last thing that happened during my near death experience. So, all these years later, I have been trying to tell people what Jesus told me. You must tell them there is no death. And ever since then, I try to share my story with.
I'm going to show you the Jesus again, though. Where was that part?
A man showed up in front of me. And I know this sounds crazy, but it was Jesus. He showed up in front of me. And I could see his hands. I could see he was wearing a white gown it was like a white robe with a gold sash around the middle. And he had kind of gold looking sandals that went up to
It was Jesus. Could this have been anyone?
hands. I could see he was
Could this have been a hologram? Could this have been a shape shifting entity or an entity with the power
wearing a
of
white
illusion, which I showed in Star Trek, one of my videos that I analyzed and showed these creatures, these alien type entities that had the power of illusion to appear to be different things? Could this be a mind trick? Okay, it could be anything. It's a reality. Jesus is so powerful that he doesn't help anyone here. It's not interesting. You think about it. Why is this realm this way? That's what you should look at.
gown it was like a white robe with a gold sash around the middle. And he had kind of gold looking sandals that went up to his calves. And I couldn't see his face because there was so much light coming from his face that I couldn't see his features. And he talked to me and he said, "You must tell them there is no death." And the very second he said that, I was immediately back in my body in the operating room, and everyone was looking down at me, and they had to use the pedals on me 6 times to bring me back. And that was the last thing that happened during my near death experience.
6 times. So 6 is 3 plus 3. 3 and 3. You can get a 33 out of the 6, but Jesus was helping him with the 6 times being paddled, shocked, and it's supposed to be pretty brutal when you go through that. But isn't that wonderful? Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You're so wonderful. You're so wonderful. Jesus healed one blind man in the Bible. There's millions of blind people today. He didn't cure blindness or stop it, of course. Thanks, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you.
So, all these years later, I have been trying to tell people what Jesus told me. You must tell them there is no death. And ever since then, I try to share my story with whoever will listen, to bring people hope. And I think that's what my story does, probably more than anything, is it brings people hope in knowing that people you've lost in your lifetime, friends, relatives, children, everyone is actually on the other side. And that's where we go when we die and leave Earth. So that was my experience in a nutshell.
Yeah, I don't think they're waiting for us on the other side. I think false hope is dangerous and harmful. I try to bring people truth and critical thinking skills and discernment, which is better than hopium. Okay? False hope is dangerous and harmful. Thanks for watching, everyone. I do hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you got something out of this and learned something, and that it's helpful to you. Thank you very much, and I look forward to being with you again at some point, chatting again. Take care. Mad love. Bye, everyone.